As requested, here's a mood reel of Jonah Hex, a grizzled old sailor who's seen better days, vinegar, and a stubborn determination to chart his own course through life, no matter how rough the seas get. Rain pours down his face, mixing with the spray of the waves. He lets out a long sigh and runs a hand through his close-cropped hair. There are fine lines etched around his coal-black eyes. He looks haggard and world-weary. Here we go. He gasps for air, choking on a mouthful of water. Hope surges through him, and he swims toward it, kicking his legs and flapping his arms. Reaching the opening, he turns and swims toward the light. It grows brighter with each stroke until suddenly he's blinded by its brilliance. Struggling upright, he coughs violently, spraying seawater everywhere. He's inside something wet, slimy, and dark. He sinks to his knees and clasps his hands together in a silent prayer. Above him, the sounds of the ocean grow fainter until they are replaced. The only light comes from the faint glow of the bioluminescent algae. Finally, he reaches a point where the slope levels off, and he finds himself inside a vast cavern, illuminated by the ethereal glow of bioluminescence. Realizing that he has stumbled upon a place of ancient power and mystery. In the center of the cavern, he sees a majestic whale skeleton hanging from the ceiling. His eyes, narrowed against the wind, scan the rocky coastline, trying to summon the strength to get back to his feet, but exhaustion pulls him back down. He lays still, listening to the wind and the waves crashing against the shore. He spots a narrow opening between two large boulders and heads in that direction. The opening leads to a small cave hidden from the view of the rest of the beach. He ignores the curious stares and whispers he receives along the way. As he approaches his destination, excitement begins to build within him. Palm trees sway in the gentle breeze, creating a soothing atmosphere. A fountain gurgles softly in the center of the courtyard, its water cascading over moss-covered stones. Inside the cave, he finds shelter from the wind. Taking a deep breath, he squares his shoulders and steps inside. The force of the water knocks him off balance, and he stumbles forward, collapsing onto the soft sand. He looks up at the clear sky above and takes a deep breath. The sky is ablaze with hues of orange, pink, and purple as the day draws to a close. Jonah sits quietly, watching the spectacle unfold before him. The stars begin to twinkle in the inky sky and the moon hangs like a silver disk overhead. Jonah looks up, lost in the vastness of the night sky. His quill moving across the surface as he writes furiously. Every so often, he pauses. She stops a few feet away, watching him curiously. Jonah doesn't notice the approach of a young girl with flowing red hair. He continues writing, oblivious to her presence. He jots down a few more words, then closes his eyes again, his eyes flashing open as if struck by a sudden thought. The girl leans closer, her eyes scanning the written characters, allowing the tranquility of the moment to envelop him. He dips his quill into the ink bottle and begins to write, his focus unwavering. Hesitantly, Jonah takes her hand and she helps him to his feet. Disoriented, he looks around and realizes he is on a deserted island. Her eyes widening with wonder as she observes Jonah hunched over his scroll. She considers approaching him, then hesitates. A faint smile touches his lips, which casts an eerie green hue on the slick, slimy walls of the throat. She kneels down and dips her hands into the water, cupping it and bringing it to Jonah's lips. Jonah wraps his cloak more tightly around him, seeking warmth in the fading light. He hesitantly takes the offering and drinks deeply, the cool water soothing his parched throat. Something brushes against his cheek and he recoils in disgust. He is barefoot and unshaven, his dark beard and hair unkempt and tangled. Hopefully it gives you some ideas about how to make Jonah come to life on screen. Thanks for watching and best of luck with your project. His piercing gaze sweeps across the crowd, taking in every detail. His fingers find purchase on a rough surface, and he scrambles to climb higher. The ship's mast creaks ominously in the wind. With a shuddering breath, he leans farther out over the side. Ha! Huge stalactites hang from the roof like jagged teeth. People from all walks of life are gathered here, merchants hawking their wares, and musicians playing lively tunes. Merchants hawking their wares. People from all walks of life are gathered here. People from all walks of life are gathered here. Children chasing each other through the crowd. The air is thick with the scent of spices and the sound of bartering. At the far end of the cavern, he sees a colossal fish with huge glassy eyes and a gaping mouth. Its scales shimmer with an iridescent glow. His eyes lock onto something in the turbulent waters below. Startled, he looks up and sees the gigantic fish begin to move, its muscles contracting and relaxing in a rhythmic pattern. Instinctively, he places his hands on the ground and pushes himself off, following the path laid out before him. The ground is soft and yielding, giving way beneath his touch. Jonah feels a strange sense of calm wash over him as he surrenders to the rhythm of the fish's movements. The movement creates a rocking motion inside the throat, gently swaying Jonah from side to side. As he approaches, the fish opens its mouth wider, revealing a dark cavity within. Inside the fish's mouth, Jonah sees a narrow opening that leads further into its body, disappearing into the churning darkness. Curiosity piqued. Curiosity piqued. He loses his balance and falls. The ocean is rough today. Waves crash against the bowsprit. The weight of the water presses against him. Jonah goes limp. But there is nothing here except for the crushing darkness and the rising tide. His body relaxes and he stops struggling. He drifts into unconsciousness, surrendering to the overwhelming force of the sea. Jonah grips the rail of the ship with one hand, panic-stricken eyes darting around wildly, as if searching for something or someone. He pulls his arms upward in a last-ditch attempt to save himself. But it's too late. The weight of the water holds him fast and drags him down into the cold, dark depths. His other hand gripping his hat as he pulls it down over his eyes. He is trying to keep himself from puking over the side. A smear of dried blood is still visible under his right eye. His salt and pepper beard is tied back with a length of twine. A heavy cloak is pulled tight against the wind. Through his slitted eyes, he watches the horizon for any sign of land. As the ship begins to crest a wave, Jonah looks out at the raging sea behind him. Lightning flashes and thunder roars. He crouches on the edge of the ship's railing, peering into the roiling waters below. It's a stormy night, and the sea is angry. The camera descends with him. Swirling around in the dark water, bubbles rise from his open mouth. His vision blurs. Jonah's eyes snap open. Through a crack in the darkness, he sees a faint blue light shimmering in the distance. Jonah's eyes adjust to the light, and he finds himself inside a massive cavern. Jonah swims closer, mesmerized by the fish's beauty. Taking a deep breath, Jonah drops the phone and allows himself to be enveloped by the darkness. Suddenly, a low rumble echoes through the space, vibrating Jonah's bones. As the fish swims through the water, Jonah feels a gentle pressure against his back, urging him forward. The ground slopes downward, becoming steeper as Jonah continues his descent. Jonah gazes up at the whale in awe. Jonah emerges from the water, gasping for breath and coughing violently as he struggles to his feet. Wind whips his cloak around his legs as he tries to regain his balance. He shivers, pulling his cloak tighter around him, but the wind seeps through the fabric and chills him to the bone. Jonah closes his eyes. Jonah finds himself in a spacious courtyard surrounded by tall buildings on all sides. As the storm rages outside the cave, Jonah finds a measure of peace in the small, secluded space. The scene shifts abruptly to a bustling marketplace in an ancient city. Jonah stands out amongst the crowd with his weather-beaten face and his torn, dirty clothes, with a determined look on his face. Jonah pushes his way through the throng of people. Finally reaching the shop, he pauses for a moment to steady himself. As the crowd parts before him, seated under the shade of a nearby tree, Jonah feels a sense of relief wash over him. In the distance, he hears the faint sound of a shofar being blown, its mournful cry echoing through the courtyard. Jonah closes his eyes. A young woman with flowing red hair approaches Jonah cautiously. She extends a hand towards him, offering help. The woman gestures for Jonah to follow her and leads him to a nearby stream. As he finishes the last drop, the woman looks up at him with a gentle smile. The sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows across the courtyard. The air grows cooler and a gentle breeze rustles through the palm trees. As the last sliver of the sun disappears below the horizon, the courtyard is plunged into darkness. He sits there for a long time, contemplating the mysteries of the universe. Jonah sits cross-legged on the sandy ground under the shade of a palm tree, his eyes closed in concentration. He holds a scroll in his hands. The setting sun casts long shadows around him, and the gentle breeze rustles the fronds of the palm tree overhead. Jonah watches her approach, a sense of calm settling over him. Lost in his thoughts, the girl tiptoes closer, as if sensing her gaze. Jonah slowly opens his eyes and looks up. Meeting the girl's surprised eyes, the girl takes a deep breath and steps forward, her eyes shining with curiosity. Jonah turns his attention back to the scroll in his lap, his quill poised above the surface. Lost in thought, Jonah doesn't seem to notice her there. That's the real